Okay, so this video might be a little bit controversial. It might be a little bit controversial. However, work with me. We've done controversial videos before. So we have kind of covered the topic of people who decide to share their adoption story on TikTok before. Of course, we're going to have varying opinions. I'm going to do my best to explain the story, explain where I stand on this, because I have found this extremely interesting. It's a page called Lynn's Jacks, and on her page it says Jesus, IVF warrior, adoption and infertility journey. So from what I can see, I don't know if she's been deleting videos or whatnot, but she has made this page to call out the adoption agency that she is with, because she has had 3, her words, breached adoptions with newborn babies, because she has said that she refuses to do anything else other than newborn babies. They heavily lean into their Christian faith, and some people are branding her as having this white savior Christian complex. If we remember, we did actually discuss this woman who went via a Christian adoption agency. I had no idea this even existed. Okay, but they do. They were throwing a baby shower to for a child that they were going to be fostering, not necessarily adopting, fostering. And then she was then sharing the journey of going to foster a baby. Once again, they only wanted a newborn baby because they were struggling with conceiving themselves. People were saying that she had this kind of like Christian savior complex going on. I don't know if she is a part of one of those agencies. Now, bear this in mind, she does not have a newborn baby. So none of these babies that I'm going to be mentioning are hers, legally hers, okay? They have gone to the parent. We've now covered like 2 out of 3 of them, but I think this video will kind of summarize why some people are annoyed.
We told him we would give the baby back immediately if he just took a DNA test. We just needed proof that he was actually the father, because to us, he was a complete stranger.
She has shared the names of these babies, the pictures of these babies. She posts things such as things I believe God would have said to Rachel, Hannah and Sarah while they were waiting, where she looks deadpan into the camera while she is cradling one of the children.
She was in fight or flight, in survival mode. She couldn't take care of herself, let alone this baby. She was just trying to work the system, and we got played.
Now, the very first breached adoption was when her and her husband actually went to the hospital. They were there during the delivery. And the woman tells the story of how they were doing like skin to skin with this baby, and then the mum had these like 2 dads in, and she describes it as like both of them were kind of going, oh well, I can give you this, I can give you that, as if the baby was more of a pawn.
Birth father had contacted her on Facebook, seeing that the baby was born. We're gonna call him Mario. So Mario said he would like to come to the hospital and see if this is his child. Meanwhile, we were told that Mario wanted nothing to do with this baby. She shared with me that at the time the baby was conceived, that she was living with her ex-boyfriend. We're gonna call him Burrito.
But as she's telling this story, the nicknames that she's using, because she doesn't use their real names, the nicknames that she uses is like, for the dad there's Mario, and then there's Burrito, and then there is Pablo, I'm pretty sure. People picked up on that one pretty fast.
Later on, my husband and I were asked to step out of the room because she was having a visitor come. So we stepped out of the room for about an hour. We're gonna call this guy Pablo. We found out that Pablo thinks he was actually the father of this child. As we are spending the entire next day with the birth mom, under the assumption that she still wanted this adoption to go through, all of this stuff is unfolding. My husband and I feel completely manipulated. We feel completely taken advantage of. We've given this lady prenatal vitamins, a breast pump, spent so many hours of our life pouring into her, going to doctor's appointments, supporting her.
End of the story, they didn't even take the baby back home. The baby stayed with the parents. But some people were really concerned because of the level of detail this mum was giving off about the mum, okay, about the mum that was in hospital, about the mum that was literally going to give you their their baby, their own flesh and blood. Okay, she had some things to say.
We matched with the birth mom in August. It was about 4 weeks before she was actually due. We were told that birth father was not involved, did not want to be involved, knew about the pregnancy but was not supported. This was actually her 9th child. She had some drug issues in the past. There was also some sexual abuse in her family with her kids. She wanted to break the cycle and do something for her child that she couldn't do for herself.
You know, it doesn't look great to adoption agencies when you're out here basically saying all sorts of stuff about the birth parents. So someone commented, "I'm confused why you are telling the mother's business. I'm so happy that she decided to keep her baby, and I'm glad the father stepped up and wants to contribute to their offspring. I can only imagine how lonely she felt, and in the end it was a beautiful beginning with her own flesh and blood." And the woman said, "This is my story to tell. It's what happened to me." Well, the thing is that you didn't have to tell all of that information. And no matter how you feel about the situation, you would have been entrusted with their baby. Okay? And she does, throughout the whole of this, refer to them as like the birth mum. That is their mum. I mean, quite literally, they're not yours. They still have the baby. So why are we referring to them as the birth mum? But she did say something that really, really, really struck a chord. So in one of her videos, someone said, "I am so thrilled these mamas changed their minds and kept their babies. I spent my childhood hoping and praying my parents would rescue me, and adopting does not cure your infertility. If you do get to buy a baby in the future, you are playing house with some other family's child." Obviously, that might touch a chord with some of you guys, whichever way you're leaning, if you're pro-adoption or not. But she says, "You are thrilled that they will now be exposed to mental health issues, drugs, poverty, single mothers, sexual abuse, the list goes on. This is why the birth mothers originally chose adoption." Probably very biased of me to say, because ding, 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 that's me. And probably quite a few of you guys, because I've had many a conversation with you in the comment section. We have bonded and we have chatted about our own experiences, and it's been a really lovely thing. Single mothers and single parents have to hold each other up. She threw that one in there. We would ban single mothers in with sexual abuse, apparently. Just ban them in there. That's when the white saviour Christian, I'm sure I'm saying that the wrong way around, but you know what I mean, complex, people really started like honing in on. And I'm sure there's going to be people in this comment section who have experience with either adopting or have experience with actually being adopted themselves. And everyone has varying experiences of it. It's not linear. So for her just to be like, well, those children are going to this, and this, all of this terrible stuff, including single mothers, is a very big blanket statement. This mum in particular that we were just speaking about, she could have turned her life around. Right, she could have, like, that happens. We don't know that, and I feel like it's coming from a very judgmental position. Now the second child. Now this one is the one where we're at the minute. I didn't even realise that actually it was 3 different stories. I thought it was just one, but it was like her story and how she became, you know, like a mum to an adopted child. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't. She's out here like plastering all of these pictures all over the show, talking about like baby blowouts, talking about like all this stuff. And I was just sat there and I was like, hold on a minute. How is she able to share this? Like, does she not need the parents' permission? It makes 0 sense. So she tells this story on the second one, how they were all set to adopt this newborn baby. They go into the hospital, this newborn is born. The dad was actually there. The dad and the mum actually have 3 children together. Bear this in mind. They have 3 children together. I believe this was their 4th.
They didn't feel like they had the support and the means to care for another child and wanted a better life for her than they could provide. She had just had a baby 11 months ago and was barely keeping it together. While all this was going on, the only thing that kept us grounded was being present with her. She had her first blowout all over my shirt. I arranged for her to receive donor breast milk so she could have the best nutrients possible. We had her on a probiotic and a routine to help her clear her thrush on her tongue. We had newborn pictures taken, and she was immediately a baby model.
Mum was set on adoption. Now, the dad, when he knew the adopted parents were going to be coming in, he had to leave because he got so upset. So he wasn't there to sign the birth certificate.
And then Bob told us that the baby's presumed father had been calling the agency since Saturday night the day that we actually took her home trying to get his daughter back. He said, currently there is no man that has legal rights to this child because there's not anybody listed on the birth certificate. So you have two options. You can give the baby back to the birth mom, or you can let this play out and see if he's actually serious about pursuing his rights. We've seen this go both ways. Immediately, our first thoughts were, wait, give the baby back to a mom who just asked us to care for her child forever? Spencer chimed in and he was furious. He said, this guy has been calling all weekend and you're just now telling us 48 hours later? Bob told us they intentionally didn't reach back out to him until that morning and they wanted to return his call after things had calmed down. Our heads were spinning as we were told this news that we may lose our precious little baby. So we hung up the phone, we cried, we prayed about what God wanted us to do.
That whole weekend, basically as soon as they left with the baby, the dad was ringing and ringing and ringing. And in Texas where they are, which is what Lynn's has a big issue with, is that they have a 48-hour hold or something a bit like that, where at any point the mum could ask for parental rights back. But the mum said no. But the dad did. But the dad wasn't there to sign the birth certificate. It's all extremely messy. Now, the way that she is describing it is as if like the dad just like upped and left. She was just like, oh no, I'm gone now. I'm done. I don't need this anymore.
If we just handed the baby back 2 days later, were we really honoring the promises of loving and protecting this child? And then you had the presumed father who chose not to be at the hospital. He walked away from this child, not even caring that he wouldn't be listed on the birth certificate. So the options felt impossible for us. Do we give the baby back to a mother who said she didn't have the means to care for her, or hand her off to a complete stranger who legally had no rights to this baby?
I'd say that like showed, even though yes, it was his choice not to be there, because obviously I'm not in the situation, so I don't know. At the end of the day, it's not just the mum's child, it is also the dad's child. Lynn's was not acknowledging the dad at all. She was basically just like, well, he wasn't there, he chose not to be there, and he didn't sign the birth certificate, so sorry. Like, basically like finders keepers, losers weepers. Bear this in mind, we just listened to the first breached adoption thing where there was actually genuinely like a point where we didn't know who the dad was, but both of them seemed happy to stand up and be like, oh, I don't know what was going on there, who knows. This is being spoken about secondhand. The latest video that just came out, right? She, after like 6 weeks or whatever, got on the phone with the dad. And the dad was literally just like, excuse me, like, I want my baby back, kind of thing. Like, give me my baby back. And Lynn's and her husband turned around and said, we're not going to give you back your baby until you do a paternity test because you're just a stranger.
Over the next few weeks, we were on the phone with the agency and lawyers constantly, waiting to see if the birth father would actually take steps in order to claim his daughter. As far as we could tell, he was all talk and hadn't hired a lawyer. To our knowledge, he hadn't signed the paternity registry, and from the beginning, we always said he took the legal steps to fight for her, we would give her back. So we asked the agency to set up a call with him so we could speak to him directly. The phone call lasted about 20 minutes, and he was aggressive and combative, barely letting us speak. We told him we would give the baby back immediately if he just took a DNA test. We just needed proof that he was actually the father because to us, he was a complete stranger. At first he agreed, but then he changed his mind and said, I ain't no lab rat. He told us he was happy to drag this out in court and didn't care how long it took, and to us that spoke volumes. We hung up that call with no resolution and honestly feeling even more protective of her. But later that afternoon, everything changed.
We've had zero, signs that he wasn't. He was there for the birth. They already have 3 kids together. But because he was too emotional, as she said, because it was too emotional for him, he stepped out because he didn't want to see the adopted parents. The whole situation was very messy. Let's just agree. And there was no signs that he wasn't the dad. You're a stranger. It's like, he was there for the birth. What are you talking about? Also, she was in contact with the birth mum.
The agency received proof that 2 weeks after the baby was born, he had gone to the courthouse with the birth mom and signed an acknowledgement of paternity to get his name added to the birth certificate. At that moment, we were told we had no legal path forward. We had to return her immediately or we could be sued. And just like that, we had 24 hours left with her. We held her and cried and squeezed her as tight as we could, and then arranged to speak with the birth mom on the phone. And due to the legality of the situation, we were required to return to the birth mom instead of the father because the paperwork hadn't processed.
And someone commented, if a parent ever wants their baby, either parent, it's such a wonderful blessing that they got to keep their own biological child. I know this felt unfair and hard on you both, but that's his daughter, so you guys giving her back to her parents is the best way to go. So sorry it's cut off. Lynn says, I agree it's great for a family to stay together, but we got brought into the world because of their decisions or lack of decisions. That's it. That's it. This is my whole point I'm trying to make. They're trying to like fulfill their purpose. They think their whole sole purpose is to like rescue these babies because in her eyes, people are making wrong decisions.
And if you think that it ends with just these, she put up a post not that long ago basically saying like, if anyone that is watching her right now wants to like essentially let them adopt their baby. Pause to read, sorry.
She just like, do you know? Backing up what everyone is saying about having this like white Christian saviour complex. I will say the birth mom was incredible and she felt absolutely terrible about the situation. And once again, she is plastering pictures. All 3 babies have been plastered all over social media. And, you know, I feel like there needs to be an element of tact and there needs to be a huge element of, you know, protecting privacy in this situation. I don't like the fact that she is using these kids as props on her TikTok. Do I feel bad for the fact that obviously they are really looking forward to being parents and it keeps on being, in her words, like ripped away from us, all of this? Do I feel bad? Yeah, because that must be really difficult, especially if they've been suffering from infertility. But what I will say is that her choice of language and I think the sole reasoning as to why she's trying to do this is very different from what I think it should be. That's what I will say. I think that she is coming at it in quite a, you know, well, we were brought into this world to save these children.
She doesn't want to have like the ups and, in her words, you can pause to read, it's just here. She doesn't want to have like the ups and downs of raising like a child that's a little bit older. She acknowledges the fact that like it's going to be really, really rough on them. And that is not what their calling is. Like she says the word, that's not what my calling is right now. And people were pointing out like having a newborn, it's not like a blank slate kind of thing. Like a child's gonna have so much trauma regardless of if they're newborn or if they're older. Like they're still gonna carry trauma, and she's not quite acknowledging this one. So like I say, it is phrasing. It is 100%, it's in the phrasing. Do I personally disagree with adoption? No, I don't disagree with adoption. That's not it. I just don't like the way that she has gone about telling the mum's stories, because some of them are quite harrowing, some of them are quite obviously extremely sad. They're going to be really, I mean, in any situation with this, it's going to be extremely sad. I don't like the whole like you've got 48 hours to decide thing. I really don't like that. There's a lot of things that she's saying that kind of give off the impression that actually she is looking at this in a, you know, we have literally been born to save these children from these, you know, awful single mothers. And I know I'm really using that, but like that's the most that stands out for me. The fact that she thinks of like single mothers and she throws that in there, like, would not surprise me if she would, if she could, she would. I reckon she'd probably say the same thing about like about people who are gay, like saving them from this same sex household kind of thing. Like that I wouldn't put it past her if she's throwing in single mothers in there. So yeah, I think that she's coming at it from much more of a saviour complex than other people that we have covered. Like I've got zero issue with adoption. I know some people are very, very serious in that they don't agree with it, that they believe that the biological family is always the best. I believe that in some circumstances it's an extremely brave thing to do, to give up the rights for your child if you cannot physically, mentally cope with it. But with that comes a slew of horrible repercussions on the child and also the parents. But you know, you're thinking about the child and that element, so it's not something that should be taken lightly or have this approach of you know, saving these children, and you know, I just don't like her approach is where I'm really getting at with this one, and I hope that comes across.
Who is she saving them from? The single mothers. And I will not let that go, because she literally put single mothers bang right next to sexual abuse. So you think I'm going to let this go? What's your name again? Linz Jacks. I ain't not letting this one go. Also, also she has some like serious like racial, I'm not going to say microaggressions because that is aggressive. Like, she's got serious aggression towards some of these parents. I think she generally thinks that she's like, she's got some aggression towards the parents of the kids that she's trying to adopt. People saying like, oh, I'm going to contact the agency board. I don't know what agency board she's with, but I can take a stab in the dark and say it's probably a Christian agency. Probably drilling it into her that these babies need saving, and that's the reason why she's been brought into this world. And in some cases, do babies get taken away from really horrible situations? Yes, they do. Sometimes the parents realize that they can't, that they literally can't. They're not either mentally stable, they're not financially secure, they're not this, they're not that. They can't take care of a baby. And do you know how much willpower, do you know how much strength that takes to actually admit that? And that's not a fun experience. And I say this because obviously I've got no skin in the game with being adopted or adopting, but I was having a very good look when I posted the last video, and I mean, I was reading it from all different sides. There's some people that, you know, agree that they'd be doing the right thing, and then other people disagreeing with it, and it's really interesting to hear from actual experiences. I just don't like seeing kind of families put on blast, and then also kids that are not yours being plastered all over social media. That's a big issue. But I don't know. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. Like I say, please share your stories if you feel comfortable to do so. But yes, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.